No child should ever wonder where they're going to sleep at night, but too many do, let down by a public housing system in crisis. It sent some mothers into poverty, others forced to couch surf with their children. There must be a better way.
Being homeless with my kids, that's my biggest fear, and having nowhere to go.
For single mum Nicole, this is her reality. She's packing up her family's belongings as she and her kids are forced to move out. But the problem is, she has nowhere to go.
I'm more desperate now than what I've ever been.
I've lost my hope in everything. I've lost everything.
With no place to call home, single mum Batul and her 11-year-old daughter are left to sleep on a friend's couch.
I'm just very lucky that I have a friend who's supporting me at the moment.
They've both applied for public housing, but like thousands of other Australians, they're on a waiting list that's continuously growing. Nicole has been left waiting for a whopping 18 years.
I've got no time. I'm in a desperate situation and I need it yesterday, basically.
Tonight, we reveal exactly how long the public housing waiting lists are and the growing calls for a solution.
If the government was to finally do a big investment in public housing, it would change lives.
For nearly 2 decades, Nicole says she has struggled to get by. Raising her 5 children, including 10-year-old triplets, she has been living week to week and has battled to privately rent.
The rent's quite high and it's financially draining.
But now, her rental in Melbourne's southeast has been sold and she has to move. The landlord asked her to leave by the end of August and she's already overstayed that deadline.
I really don't have time left, to be honest. I think the clock's stopped for me at the moment, yeah.
Relying on Centrelink benefits and with living costs soaring, Nicole has been squeezed out of the private property market.
This is my older boys when they were little. And this is Caden when he was 2. That was when I first put my name on the list. That's how old he was. Now he's grown up to be this one. And
So he's 20 now?
He's 20 now, yes.
I was just wondering how...
After 18 years of waiting and countless calls and emails to the housing department, Nicole says she feels forgotten.
They don't push anything that's older, the older cases. They just keep bringing in the new ones and leaving us on the back burner all the time.
Families are left to languish on waiting lists while public housing units sit empty. Neighbours say no one has lived in several of these Melbourne apartments for months.
Is every apartment full here?
No. You don't see the blinds come down, you don't see lights go on.
For Batul and her daughter, that just isn't fair. The pair is homeless. They've been couch surfing for the past couple of months.
I don't know where to go. I've tried to make everybody hear my voice, but they're not there.
They're left to rely on the generosity of others. Without the help of friends, they would not only be walking the suburban streets, but also sleeping there.
We can't stay on the street because I know something's going to happen.
Batul and her daughter have been on the housing waiting list for 16 months. They're asking for a roof over their heads, somewhere to feel safe, and a place to call home.
I don't want her to go through this. I want her to have her own room, her own privacy, but she can't.
Batul says they've had no help.
There's no housing, there's no transmissional, there's no emergency, you have to go on private.
She's now one of thousands left to wait. The latest figures reveal in New South Wales there are almost 53,000 cases waiting for public housing. In Victoria, there is over 50,000 applicants, while there are 22,000 households in Queensland waiting, and 1/3 of those have children. South Australia has over 20,000 applicants waiting, while the lists in WA, the Northern Territory, Tasmania and the ACT are shorter, in line with the smaller populations.
We're putting more than $6 billion a year into the system and it's not working.
Okay, the problem with public housing...
3AW broadcaster Neil Mitchell.
I'm sure there are people rorting the system and you've got to deal with that. You've got to go through and get rid of them.
There's people who are using drugs, there's people who are selling drugs. I know all that. They're abusing the system, but we're copying it.
Mother of 2, Hayley, considers herself one of the lucky ones.
I mean, I got told on the general waiting list it's like a 10 to 20 year wait depending on where you want to move. So, I mean, it's heartbreaking, really.
She was forced to wait more than 2 years for her public housing property, and she's grateful to have recently moved in.
And now it's pretty nice to have a place to call home.
It's beautiful. There's so much space. Everyone can walk around properly.
Obviously, families get priority, as they should, but people waiting years for this is just not what we would expect in 21st century Australia.
Tim Smith is the Victorian Shadow Minister for Housing.
We're not building enough to keep up with demand.
They have to build it because there's a lot of people out there.
These waiting lists are crushing for people, and in some ways the worst thing that happens is it crushes your sense of hope.
With the growing backlog, the burden falls on not-for-profit organisations like the Salvation Army, who are providing extra crisis accommodation. Dr Cassandra Goldie is the CEO of the Australian Council of Social Service.
Now, if you're living on the streets, you can get moved on anytime. If you're couch surfing, you know that you're really able to be told to go anytime, day or night. That sense of security is lost to you. We've got to get it back.
A painful 18-year wait for public housing that is unfortunately set to continue.
I feel like I've just been pushed under the carpet and just no one wants to deal with it.
Yeah, terrible, isn't it? Public housing's a bit of a lotto depending where you live. The average wait time is just 35 weeks in Tassie for priority cases. Otherwise, the best you'll get is 2 years in WA and 3 in the ACT. But spare a thought for families like Nicole's waiting more than 10 years in New South Wales.